Hello, good afternoon, traders. It is 2:45 p.m. It's Friday, November 5th, 2021, and I'm here in Kandy, Sri Lanka. I'm going to go over the pairs of the day, and I would definitely like to highlight some moves of the day. There's a lot of high impact volatility coming up, and there's CAD news and USD non-farm all at 8:30 a.m. U.S. session. So that's in about 3.5 hours from now. We should see some sort of movement on USD and CAD. But as of right now, we are in the London session. So I'm going to pay attention to some London session pairs, European pairs, and then get into USD. So right now we're looking at Gbpaud. Yesterday, I had highlighted I had a successful move down, and I closed out sells towards the low of the day. And then I got out as the market went to Asia because I noticed that Asian markets tend to manipulate a lot. So right now, we're currently seeing, as of the past 30 plus minutes, a drive to the downside of about 40 plus pips. Now, in the past, I normally would have taken these type of moves and took a short at this low because textbook examples say that price should continue on down. You got a lower low, lower high, and a new lower low being formed. So this is a breakout entry for a lot of retail sellers, and that's where I used to be in the past. Now where I'm at is I'm more observant, and I definitely see that price could potentially climb up. See a lot more opportunity on the upside today than I do on the downside with Gbpaud. Going back to the news, there's no GBP news, there's no AUD news, they're at least red folder. So the probability of price continuing to the downside is slim because we need a strong economic catalyst to push price further down. That's about 80 pips south. Now, price, if the past 30-minute candlestick was a strong move down, we would see a succession in this next 30-minute candlestick. What we're currently seeing right now is a pause of the move. That's indicating some sort of indecision in that area. When I do put my minor resistance zone from the past, it's now support. My minor key level, we can see that price lined up exactly across that minor key level. And that's the most recent key level that we're currently on right now. The reason why I don't think that this is a breakout is because this is a minor key level. It's not a major level. A major level will be down below in between 1.816 and 1.813. And if we could see price potentially get down there, which is another 51 pips away, then we could potentially see a bear market. But if it does get that far, that's already 108 pips, and that's too far for me to enter a trade at that point. So not even a risk-seeking trade would be worth it because we're at the end of the week, and it'll be at the end of the day by that point. We're already in the middle of the day, and we can see that the ATR on Gbpaud is approximately 111 pips. So the ATR being 111 pips, that move alone is, let's go back to the chart. That move alone to the downside, which is, I highlight, already commented it's a false break, is literally the extension. And plus this current drop, that's already 111 pips right there. So right upon my entry, the market might end up exhausting and pulling back up. So for a bear market, I think this is not necessary, and it's not an acceptable move down. And if anything, I'd be looking for a failure of this 4-hour bar to continue to climb upwards about 111 pips north. It's probably the smartest move to make. Going to the intraday time frames now. You can see exactly what's happening one more time. There's a breakout low. So in this video, I want to highlight where exactly I would look for a potential buy entry. On the 30-minute time frame, I'm looking anywhere above 1.83. That's still very far away, 149 pips. So on a 30-minute time frame, that's unnecessary. What's making this very far away is a big gap that we have in between this current zone and the peak. It's 100 pips. So we need that gap to be filled. And at the moment, we see a false breakout to the upside, which then hit retail stops, and it's on its way down. Once again, this is replicating or mirroring the move that just happened. It's a false break to the downside. And what do you think is going to happen next? It's going to whip price up. And my earliest point of entry, I would say, would be anywhere above 1.827. So I put a risk-seeking entry above 1.827. That would probably be my earliest point of entry. And then my stop loss would simply be the current lows, so 1.821. Now that's still very far away, and that's not the proper setup for a day trader to have a stop that wide. Now if you are a intra-week trader and you're trying to hold trades as a swing trade or swing position, then 100 pip stop loss would be necessary. But if you're a day trader, that's too far away. So when price does arrive to this area, what I plan on doing is actually scaling the stop much higher up. But if there is a slight breakout and it does move a significant amount north, then I would definitely like to acknowledge the fact that I was at least in that move. And the risk to reward on the move that I can foresee right now, if we're risking about 75 pips, I'm looking at about 130 pips to close out for the day. So my reward for the day is at 1.841 if price goes in this direction. Now I just acknowledge that there's no high impact GBP news. So for price to climb 129 pips from my entry is a little selfish because I know that the ATR is 111 pips. So for 129 in my favor, I'm only saying that, hey, I'm the market and I make up my mind on where it goes. So that's obviously not the best mindset to be in. So the highest price that I'll actually take it to today would be probably around 1.835, and that's going to give me a solid 70 pips. I think that's fair enough. So let me put a take profit zone around 1.835. And right around here, it could even be a little bit lower. I know it's a really not the best profit, but this is just practice, and we will get better at it. This account was solely made for practice, but I definitely do test out different lot sizes. You guys can see it's live. Let me get the screen back to the proper resolution. So, yep. Now what I want to do is I want to get into the even smaller time frames to mark up everything else going on. So we can see that drive, it just penetrated right into the open. Look at that, 60 pips off the rip. If you got a short in there, good job. But good job, that was a nice counter move, and you are now facing the completion of that move. So the same thing that's happening on the major time frame is happening on the minor. So it's pretty obvious. We can see there's a key level of support right here. This is now turned into supply. But the thing is, that's no longer significant supply. This is very weak supply. So I do believe that once price breaks above here, it's going to test this high and it's going to continue on to the upside. So if I can get a break above here, 1.825, I'm in a risk averse trade. So I can actually double my lot size now. And place my order accordingly. So you guys see what I just did. Now my stop loss is going to be a few pips below the low of this region. But I'm actually going to extend it a little bit farther today just because you never know. So I'll put it around 40 pips. So 1.821. 1.8, let's do 1.8515. So we can have a little bit out the picture in case, price does want to go down a little lower. We can at least get the lowest point of the day. But I do believe that it shouldn't close anywhere below 1.829 for the day. And we'll just follow through with that as well. But this is the advantage of being patient and waiting for the market to make up its mind. And as we can see, it's currently making up its mind. And just give it some time. But this is GBP AUD for you all. Just a little markup for the day. I'm going to end Friday pretty solid north. And if not, I'm not in the trade, so it doesn't really matter to me. And there's a sell stop below. I just want to leave that there. This was my sell stop from a few days ago. Before I end this video, I just want to show you guys an example. What happens if you are stubborn and you don't close out of your orders? So we can see from the 1st of November, that sell stop would have been triggered, but that was a sell entry. Ever since then, price has kept on scaling up, as we can see. And it knocked out retail sellers. You can see there's retail sellers right there with their stop losses, thinking that price is going to go down forever. And then it continued on up, and it knocked out the stops of even some more retail sellers that had their stop losses right above here. It actually tapped to the T and barely missed these guys. But you can see how the market is periodically making a shift to the upside. And then there was a slight correction. This was a GBP high impact news as of November 3rd, I believe. Let's see, November 4th. And that drove price to the downside, but it was high impact news, aka manipulation. So if the news drove price all the way down towards below 1.814, then I would agree that we are in a bear market, or at least the bear market resumed. As of right now, we are currently in a range between the Fibonacci zones that I just drew in the previous video. So the range is what we're trading in, and I have to determine if it's going to go down to the bottom of the range or up towards the top of the range today. And I was just breaking this down, just show you all how I will go about my positioning on GA. And we will just follow up at the end of the trading day. Now, my next video, I'm going to go on to I have a GBP USD long as well. I'll just show you guys a sneak peek. So you can see I have a buy stop, a very similar type of setup. Breaks the range, liquidity zone, 100 pips, lock in some profits, continue to take it on up. I have 3 zones, so continues on up. I do suspect price to burst through this area right here because this is all weakness and continue to go up by another 100 pips. So on the day, GU, I could see it potentially climbing, 300 pips from its current area if non-farm works out the way it does. We could see a huge rally in GU. And these are the type of trades you actually would love. It's a great time to set up for, a lot of money. Put a huge lot size down. This is the type of setup to put that huge lot size on because it's a high probability, high quality setup. Now, that's all I'm going to highlight. I'll go over GBP USD in the next video. I am going over time, so I'm going to mark this one up as GA, and we'll get into the next one right away.